Well, well, well. Thanks very much for stumbling into the world of What Was That Radio and A Conversation With, which is one of two podcasts that you can find at whatwasthatradio.com, which is also a 24/7 modern rock discovery music station, an arts academy, and a community of wuzzers. Now, A Conversation With, and much like in this case with Electric Enemy, are conversations with me, getting to know souls that have galvanized me through their creations, and at some points they can go up to 3 hours long. So the spin-off of this podcast is What Was Short, where editor, I'm not going to restart. I'm not going to do one of those weird jump cuts that you see on YouTube. I am perfect always. I am perfect always. When I hit record, you get what I write until it's unhit record. So What Was Short is where podcast editor Mike Battle chooses his favorite 10 minutes, little awesome nugget. So keep an eye out for that in the future as well if you've not got time for the whole 90 minutes with these two wonderful souls in Electric Enemy. Thanks for being here. And you can find out more at whatwasthatradio.com. And I'd love a cheeky like, subscribe, or share of this video and account if it brings you some joy and you feel that's worth doing so. Enjoy. How many times have I said enjoy? Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am great. Oh, great. Orlando's here as well. Oh, fabulous.
Yes. Twice the fun.
Yeah, indeed. Let me admit him in. I honestly...
Sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to say, Jim, I love that you're early. I was still quickly having a protein bar to start the day. And cheekily watching the Sweet Tooth video that's brilliant.
Oh, nice, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've been in like sessions all day, like songwriting sessions for other people and stuff. I've got one after this with some people in like Nashville.
Oh
so
my
like
God.
basically this is pajamas, but I didn't know if this was going to be like used the film, so I put on my leather jacket. Well, but obviously still got the PJs underneath. Classic Zoom tactic.
I love it. I love it. No, I'm very much in the same. I'm just wearing the What Was That shirt, and everything else is pajama bottoms too. I haven't really. Yeah. That's the joy of when you build a radio station in your living room, and then you go with it.
You've got a great looking living room. That's
it looks great.
Hello, good morning, good evening, Orlando. Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Hi. Good evening.
This is my wonderful partner Jody. She's very much into the 70s aesthetic, and
nice.
It is the first thing that every conversation starts with is, "What the hell is going on behind you? Look at all these things." So,
yeah, wicked. Yeah. Annoyingly, because I work mainly here on like production and stuff, all of the cool stuff is happening where I'm looking. So all you've got is like a bed and a couple guitars and a cat. Chairman Meow, he's called.
Chairman Meow. Hello, Chairman. Welcome to the Chairman. Don't piss off the Chairman.
Never piss off the Chairman.
So no, I'm thrilled to get to know you two. And I mean, the first song I discovered by you was Where Do We Go From Here? And I just thought, man, this is ticking every box for me. It is, I love the way that you guys, the four of you, all of you create this just thick textured rock. It's Stand and Deliver is not to be taken rudely. I'm not calling anything simple. I just love how thick and textured everything is.
Thank you.
It really really excites me big time.
Really appreciate that. And it's so it's three of us. So it's myself, Jim, Orlando, and Tom on drums. Yeah.
And you've gone but you started out there were four of you originally?
Originally there were four of us. Yeah. I
remember doing some research and reading interviews where you had said, well, we got 2 Italians, 2 Brits, dinner time's great, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, so we have 1 Italian now because you know Brexit. It's got nothing to do with Brexit. But I just like threatening him with it. Brexit means Brexit.
Yeah, he does it all the time.
You're just one day away, one more Boris party from being out of this fucking band, okay?
Literally.
Jesus, what a mess.
You're in the right place where you are, man, for sure.
Well, I mean, politics is everywhere, and they're all a bunch of liars. So it is what it is, you know? You just play the game.
Absolutely.
But the really quick context behind me, and this is something that I've been working on tenfold the last few years because I don't want to spend 10 minutes talking about me when I want to get to you. And I've been involved in rock radio for 15 years. I worked at a commercial rock radio station on Vancouver Island called The Zone for 10 years, had an incredible time there and grew an awful lot. And I've come a bit disillusioned with the radio industry. It's a very powerful industry. It can also be very fickle. And I just felt that I wanted to keep growing. And so the really long story short is I thought, you know what? I'm in my mid-30s. I have always adored the challenge of growth, and I'm not daunted by that. And that's not to gloss over how difficult and what an experience it's been the last 2 years, leaving a commercial machine, a great wage, and a great team around me, and then just doing everything myself. So this is purely what was at radio. It's just scratching my urge and itch of looking to keep growing, looking to keep connecting with artists like yourselves and help in my own way, with no means changing the wheel, with no means am I, Zane Lowe or John Peel, for God's sake. But it's just about trying to interact and to build new communities that then in turn can highlight bands like yourself, and hopefully the Wuzzers, as we're affectionately known, will jump on board. The extra bits is that I'm originally from Malmesbury in Wiltshire, near Swindon. And so you can see why I left there. And so I live on Vancouver Island now, over on the west coast of Canada. It's absolutely beautiful here.
Pretty sweet.
And I just I make rock radio in my living room with my partner. She's out working, and her son Harley is at school. He's 8 years old. I've been here for nearly a year and a bit. Been together for 2 years, and that's the really quick context on me. I fucking love modern rock, and everything about what was that is nothing older than 2017. 90% of the playlist, and talking over nearly 4,000 unique bands released within the last 2 years. So the focus on true modern alternative. And that's not to say that Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden aren't important, but I believe that those classics should be played maybe once or twice every month, not 3 or 4 times a day, to allow room for the likes of Electric Enemy, that now let's sink our teeth into you guys, are so fucking exciting. So where do you want to start, Orlando and Jim, with the foundation of how you two met, and how did this start? We'll keep it simple. We'll build into dissecting as we get to know each other.
Yeah, so basically, I'd just finished with an old band, and basically I was really keen to just get going straight away on a new project. And basically I put an advert out. Orlando answered the advert. He turned up to the rehearsal, and actually, when he first turned up, I don't think he wanted to join.
No, I really didn't want to join. I'm still not sure.
Yeah, but we kind of got him into it, and so he joined. And then since then, Orlando recruited everyone else. Our previous bassist Saz and Tom as well, and he found them. And basically, we started in one kind of name, and then we kind of moved on, learned a lot about all of the stuff that is the music industry, and the difficulty and mess that is the music industry at times. And we changed our name on the advice of a label, because our previous name was quite difficult internationally. And we landed on Electric Enemy. They got us on the Isle of Wight main stage, and we were just like, right, we need to by that point, we'd kind of found out who we were, what we were as a band, what our sound was. We were raring to go, and then pandemic. But for us, luckily, we'd recorded a lot in advance, and we'd written a lot together, and we'd kind of got everything together, so that when the pandemic did hit, we released Heartache Melody, and that song just took us from, I don't know, 500 monthly listeners to significantly more. And then it just kind of kept building, and all of a sudden it's like we've made a real transition in quite a small period of time. And it's been pretty insane. So I don't know how it happened, but we're really glad it did. And obviously there's a long way to go and all that kind of stuff, but I think what we've learned most of all from our kind of time as a band together is to just appreciate all of the little victories, because it's so easy to just gloss over them and just kind of be what's next? So we're just kind of did you see that? Have you seen that's got that many plays? Have you seen that? That's pretty cool, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So so that's long story long.
No, there's nothing long here. Not when you're talking to me. I could talk the hind legs off a donkey, Jim. You've got as much time as you need to flesh out everything. The first thing, Orlando, what didn't you like about the vibe, that first meet?
Well, I mean, I like the songs. I wasn't sure about the. I mean, it was a different band back then. Where they had like different people. I like the way Jim dealt with things and songs in general. So that's why intrigued me eventually. But yeah, at the beginning, I was a bit skeptic about the whole thing. But that's me. I just need time to to really like someone. So
Orlando's a cat, basically.
yeah, I am that cat. That
You're
the one behind.
yeah,
Yeah, this
the
is
cat on
actually
my
me.
wall. This is actually
Yeah.
Orlando. It's a picture of Orlando.
Yeah, I'm
it's a
always
great-
watching you while you sleep, and yeah.
Well, no, that's completely fair enough. Especially if you're responding to an ad. I remember responding to an ad when I was 16 years old to play trumpet in a ska band, and
Yeah.
just like an ad in a music store. And I
Yeah.
was so excited. And then this little Ford Mondeo pulled up in my parents' front. I'll never forget the jaws dropping, because when the doors opened, just a plume of smoke just came out. It was just marijuana central. And my dad used to be a policeman, and he's like, "I'm fucking not having this. You're not playing with these miscreants. Who are these people? What are they doing?" And so I remember going to that, and they're all like 10 years older than me at this point. They're all in their mid-20s. And for them, it was more of like, let's just get together, smoke, drink, and make music. They weren't really a serious band, but credit to them, they picked me up for 3 or 4 weekends to go along. And I just stood there scared out of my mind, just like, okay, I'm just going to go with my ear. No one's really telling me what to do. I'm just part of this room of people just having a frat house situation.
Yeah, but that's why that's the point. Like like you can meet a lot of people like that in London. They all like artists, they all like to drink and to do all that, but no one is really serious about music. So
I think in the same breath, I think you kind of need to have that that moment of, you need to kind of get that out of your system at one point or another. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, I think that's probably what happens with a lot of bands, is that they don't do that. And then all of a sudden, someone's just kind of like, "Hey, kid, do you want to try some drugs?" And then, and then it's kind of like, "Well, what does that do?" So I think it's important to kind of get all of that stuff out of the way before everything. But now, I mean, like we have a lot of fun and stuff like that, but I'd say that we're quite professional as far as it kind of bands go and stuff. Like I don't drink before a gig. I gave up smoking, not because I wanted to, but because it was, it wasn't great for my voice. And, we're all kind of conscious of that stuff. And just, I think the mental energy, at the risk of going too far down that avenue, is kind of quite important to us. It's like, if one person in a rehearsal room's like being kind of a bit off or a bit weird, that messes up everyone's vibe. So I mean, we've worked kind of quite hard on ourselves. It's and Jesus, we've got a long way to go. But you got to think about these things, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's all, again, that is what we'll click into big time, and that's what stands out to me with Electric Enemy, is it's the precision of the creative to begin with. I mean, you said that you recorded a bunch of songs. That was very fortuitous just before the pandemic that no one saw coming, because to me, you've been releasing song after song after song for the last 18, 24 months, and gearing up to the record that's coming. I know we were going to do this. We've moved the chat around, but I just wanted to chat with you. It didn't matter whether it was before the release or after the release, because there's enough here to be excited to pick your brain, and then we can worry about maybe teaming up again if we all get along in 6 or 7 months more and reflect 100%. On it again. But that's what stood out to me, was the precision in the release, from the artwork to the music videos. But how did you end up wooing Orlando? Did you start cooking dinners? Did you start saying, "Look, I take this shit seriously, man. You got to tag in. You got to join up"?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like, there isn't going to be any messing around. It's, obviously going to be fun. But ultimately, I think in a lot of bands, what tends to happen is one person becomes the neurotic parent and they do all of the admin. But I was very keen at the beginning of this just to kind of say, right, we're going to split up the responsibilities. And one of the things, which is awesome, is that Orlando is a fantastic artist. And he does all of our artwork. So like every bit of artwork that comes with our singles, done by Orlando. And I remember at the beginning as well, when I kind of mentioned it to you, because I had no idea that you could do art. And I was just like, this is awesome. You should do it. You're like, I don't know. It's all right. But yeah. No, it's good. It's good. You know, you got to do all the in-house stuff, and it's great that as we progress, we get to kind of get into contact and learn a lot of different things from different people who are kind of professionals in their field and all that kind of stuff. But you know, we started from the beginning with doing our own music videos and all that kind of stuff.
It's good to have control over your stuff rather than, you know, saying to someone else, why don't you do it? It's just like, when you can do it, you know, we like to do that stuff ourselves. And
But yeah, I also wooed Orlando with fine wines and perfumes.
Perfumes.
Yeah. A lot
really?
Of perfume.
No, but I mean, I wore extra cologne just to kind of make him want to stand.
Oh, goodness me. And the leather jacket. Oh, you do what you can.
And the leather jacket.
No, but I think, Orlando, that's a great point you make, which is that if you can do it, you've got to do it, because at the end of the day, everything that you make that's part of your art is a reflection of your soul, and that all builds in. And there's a reason why you've gone from 500 monthly listeners to 121,000 in this moment, because everything from top to bottom, there's no sense of false play here. There's no sense of punching above one's weight. It very much feels like a rock band that are producing their art on their own terms. And that's what's cool as well, is as Jim, as you're reflecting on, looking back at that journey, right? It's only been a year and a half, but I mean, with each step, the progression is there. And that's the exciting thing. And that's the pressure that a lot of bands will put on themselves with, how do we consistently stay consistent? How do we make sure we don't take a backward step? So I love that you've gone through, to me, 2 or 3 different themes of how, Orlando, you've gone about your artwork with the album artwork. And that reminds me, Jim, when you were saying as well, I mean, I used to be in a band. I mean, everyone that's a musician has been in a band at some point or in and around the arts, I would think. And I remember when we started out as a 4-piece, and then the bass player was like, I tell you what, I'll just show up the night before we gig and I'll learn it the night before. And after 3 or 4 weeks of that, when it's a virtuoso bass player, you're like, I don't know. And that was one of the most awkward parts of my band life, was then actually being in a band where we had it split, sort of inspired by you two. We've each got a set of responsibilities. We're very much going to all earn the same things. We funnel it all back in the band to keep that growth going. Yeah. And then here's someone who's just showing up and drinking a ton of beer. And it's not quite that vibe. You know, that vibe was maybe in our teens, not so much so in our late 20s, you know? So it's those finite balances you've got to address.
Yeah. 100%. What was your band called, by the way? I always like hearing about like different band names.
Oh, we were called Stinging Bell, after Biffy Clyro is one of my favorite bands. And we were a 3-piece female-led band, and Ali is just such a ferocious... We're not a band anymore due to some issues a few years ago. People are more important than the band. And I just that name, we were originally called Blood Maps. Jordan, the guitar player, liked that because Ali wrote from a standpoint of a lot of very openness and mental health discussion, and so then when Royal Blood exploded, it was like, this is a bit too close. And so then it was literally a situation where you're the night before your first show, and we're just going through my record collection like, fuck, there's got to be a name here somewhere. There's got to be a name here. Pulling out Queens of the Stone Age, Arctic Monkeys, you know, all the favorites. And I know that that's what I've seen listed with you guys as well, even though I tend to not... I'm not a fan of saying this band reminds me of and sounds like. I like saying this band sounds like Electric Enemy. And hello to Trucker Steve and the Rad Cyclist in chat. Thanks for watching us. But okay, let's start dissecting here, because... And if it's all right with you, can I play some samples of your music?
100%.
100%. Where do we go from here? That's the first one that I heard. For those that aren't aware of it, I tell you what, I need a mustache trim. I'm fucking eating hair here. There's nothing I don't share, just so we're clear. So good. We'll talk about
that's meant to be the Lone Ranger.
play the first sort of minute and then have a chat about it.
I don't know if it was worth the
It's just so fucking good. I have absolutely annihilated trying to sing along to this in the car driving to get the shopping so many
that's
times.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
So that's the first thing that stood out to me when I heard this song was that whistle. And that was when I knew that this is a band that like the detail. And I'm huge on the detail because you are creating a soundscape, you're building theater. So where and pardon me for being so simplistic with my questions right now, but where did that idea come from? Because it latched me.
So the idea of the whole song or the whistle?
That whistle, and then let's work backwards to forwards. Yeah.
So the whistle, basically, I like to kind of, and like as a band, we like to kind of try and introduce something different every kind of, a few bars or something like that, because obviously the human mind, I think we've got like a shorter attention span now than even goldfish. Yeah, exactly. And basically the idea, I mean, it kind of helps to kind of explain like the rough idea of the beginning of the song. So basically, my full name is James John Lawton. My grandfather's name was John James Lawton. It was his funeral and his name was in flowers. And I remember looking at that and being like, oh, that's fucking weird. That's like my name. And basically all of that, I just kind of imagined the undead, essentially, which is why you get that thing first. And then the second time around, it's the whistle. I just kind of imagined like an empty ghost town and a really nasty looking skeleton on a horse riding in. And kind of like all you can hear is like them whistle as they go into town and everyone shuts the shutters and all that kind of stuff. So that is the origin of Thwhistle.
Yeah.
And that builds into the end, the big crescendo and the chorus of vocals at the end that we'll play here. So good. Completely random share here is that when I first heard this song, it transported me back to being about 7 years old. And my dad coming home, so excited with the new cassette he'd bought, and it was Coolio, and it blew my fucking mind because I was raised on Beatles and all that you would expect, right? Beatles and ABBA and all the huge names of the time.
Yeah,
I could go through 30 bands. You know who they're going to be. And so it took me. I was like, what the hell? That's probably not even in my language at that age, but I was like, what on earth are you doing? And he's like, it's the chorus vocals in this, son. It's the chorus vocals. And it was I terribly now forget which Coolio song it was, but it was the whole record with, obviously Gangsta's Paradise was on it at the time and Going to Heaven and just that reminded me of that. And that's one of the most favorite things for me when listening to music is how you are going through the tale and the story that you, Electric Enemy, are laying out, but then it triggers these thoughts and these flashbacks to, oh my God, that. And I'm not sure why that is, but I felt that you need to know that for somehow that inspired that.
I think any way in which like music can transport people, because it does. It's like, it's so weird how it works, isn't it? And it can be any band, any song, like a note. The sound of a piano sometimes can make you go like, oh wow, I remember that day or whatever it is. I mean, that's really awesome because I loved all of that stuff as well growing up. Like number one band for me, the Beatles, always will be, just because I grew up on it, and also just, I mean, wow, like pretty good. But yeah, I mean, like that choir at the end, I remember Orlando and I went in together on that day, and basically I'd had this idea to kind of make a hell choir, is what I kind of called it. And we just kind of started layering and going beyond and beyond. And what we always like to do is kind of, if we've done something and we're all just kind of like, cool, at the end of it, we haven't really pushed enough. But if one of us comes up with an idea and the other one's just kind of like, that could be a bit weird, like, I don't know, that means that we are, like exploring something. So when I went for like the high note, I didn't even know I could hit that note until I tried it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is actually, it's probably my favorite Electric Enemy song, that one.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and I like the fact that so when we recorded it, so Jim recorded the whole choir. So the choir has a name, and everyone in the choir has got a different personality.
Yeah.
What's the name of the choir?
So I call myself the Swivel Sisters. And I don't know why, but I like to like change my body according to like the bass note or the next note, change the shape of the mouth, maybe be a bit more nasal in some of them, and kind of yeah, the one at the top has all of the thrill, I guess.
That must have been quite the release to write about your grandfather in that way. When my grandmother died, that's my Canadian connection, just so that makes sense how I ended up being
Sure.
here. My grandmother was from this island. She moved to the UK in between the wars. That's where she met my grandfather. And when she passed away 14 years ago, she was very much like a second mother. My mum and dad are still alive, and obviously we have a great relationship, and I missed them tenfold, but spent a lot of time with my grandma, and I was devastated. I didn't speak for a few weeks. I had family members getting a bit confused as to why the guy that spoke so fucking much was so quiet. And it wasn't until the cremation where I really realized that's it, that she's gone. And one of the things she had done, and she had been through multiple cancers and beat them all. She'd been through so many different surgeries. This, you know, most people when they get to 80, things start to go awry. You get a hip out, you get a knee out, you get this, you get that. And when she got a cold, I was like, well, that's not an issue. But she sensed that was going to be the end, and she asked everyone to write a goodbye note, all the grandkids, and I was the only one that didn't write one. I remember being at the funeral of my uncle, who I also like and love, clinging on to love. He called me out and said all the grandkids other than one wrote about their grandmother, and then he read some excerpts from it, and I was devastated. And so the week after that, I was going into the studio with my friend to help me make my most serious radio demo yet. And I mean, I'd written like an intro song. We were gonna play all the instruments and record like an actual jokey intro song, all those little IDs, and doing fake reports and just trying to showcase all these different things I could do. Yes, I want to be on the air talking to rock stars, but if you need me to write and read news reports, if you need me to write and read commercials, I wanted to show everything, just a passionate ball of energy, just bring me in now. And what those sessions turned into instead was me writing a song called Hazel, which ended up being my goodbye letter that I then recorded and gave to my grandfather when it would have been their 50th wedding anniversary, and my mum for her birthday that was in and around the same few weeks as well. And that was a massive metaphorical weight off my shoulders. But see, the difference with that, Jim, in Orlando, is that that's kept within house. You've got to go and perform this song over and over and over again. How do you ground yourself? How do you ready yourself to do that? Because that is an awful lot of energy. You referenced looking at the flowers and thinking, shit, that spells my name. How do you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, you know what? Can I say something? I don't think Jim knows about this, but I had every time like we play that song, I have the same feeling because my grandfather had my same name as me, so I have the same thing, you know. And I remember like every time I go like to the tomb, it's like, oh, that's my name. It's weird. I got that feeling, so I kind of relate to the lyrics, even though I haven't written them. So yeah, there you go.
I think that the thing with where do we go from here is kind of like, I think up until that point, like everything that we've written and stuff is always very honest. So like the beginning idea, I think maybe quite selfishly, it was kind of about my granddad in a way, but I just kind of got lost in the idea of my own kind of mortality and stuff like that. And like having dealt with every mental thing under the sun, like you name it, like one of us in the band has probably got it. Basically, I just kind of, it's the first time where I actively decided, right, I'm going to write a depressing song, which isn't depressing, just like an honest song. About being at your own funeral, no one caring that you're dead, and basically just the kind of futility, which I think is always kind of playing in the background of anyone with kind of depression's mind, is the whole kind of thing, is this the final hour? If so, I don't know if it was worth the wait. Because, every now and then you catch yourself just kind of thinking, just like, isn't this great? We're doing this radio interview. It's awesome. We just released a single today. It's awesome. We played Isle of Wight. And then every now and then, I don't know if, everyone feels this way, but I certainly do. Sometimes I just kind of go, yeah, but what's the point of anything?
It's incredible.
But I mean, and that's part of life. Like, death is part of life. But I love the fact that this one has absolutely no hope. And it's kind of like my kind of shadow side, which I was allowing to kind of come through and kind of put on like a bigger, more aggressive voice than I would naturally sing in. The where do we go? It's like that kind of like guttural thing, But yeah, that one, whenever we play that live, I still get shivers from just delivering that bit. Because when Orlando comes in with his guitars, when Tom comes in with the drums, and we use some of the harmonies as well, like all part of the live thing, you just feel the massive kind of just weight drop in the room. And it's like, it's one of those times where a song just, I think it's got its own life 100%. Like, I don't think it's got anything to do with any of us, if you know what I mean. It's just like, the song is just kind of like, it comes to stay, mess with everyone's head, and then goes away. And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Orlando,
what were you going to say, Orlando?
The funny thing is that this song, even though it's quite serious, it has been played by the Love Island. It wasn't on Love Island. This very song, which is like a very weird choice. Like, I would never thought that
obviously very grateful to ITV and all of their partners.
Oh yeah, no, we really loved it. It was just like,
please feel free to use it again as Bachelor, or if The Rock of Love comes back with whatever his name was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Thanks for sharing that, Orlando, because I could just picture two fucking wannabe A-listers and this dramatic amount of close-ups, extreme close-ups, and but babe, we had such a great dinner on the beach in this false livelihood that we've been built around with the champagne. What's the script? Fuck. What am I meant to say? Oh, but we had such a great time at the beach, babe. And then this is you blaring, where do they go from here?
Yeah. We genuinely thought people were joking when they were just kind of like, oh, I just heard your song on Love Island. It's just like, yeah, no, you haven't. So
you didn't even know?
About? No, we had no idea.
We've been told we had like 2,000 Shazams or something like that. I was like,
yeah, we were just kind of like, well, that might make sense.
That's
amazing. 2,000 Shazams.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember. Like, I remember
in a night, yeah.
It was like, yeah.
The Shazams were magical.
Yeah, because it is like one of the biggest show in the UK, weirdly, but still.
And again, we're still very grateful to ITV and all of their partners.
Also, sorry, I've been like doodling. Are you a Birds Aren't Real fan? You know the fake conspiracy theory.
Tell me, Orlando.
So apparently they say that birds are fake. They're just made up by the government to spy on you. So I made this. It's a griffin with a sign. Just going. I don't know. I've just done this. I just thought I would share it.
No, I appreciate that. It looks like you're inspired by Jim's jacket, Orlando.
Yeah, that was it. I was like, I'm gonna
yeah.
Anyway.
There you go. Didn't go for the PJ bottoms that he's wearing right now out of view, but that's all right.
No. Maybe next time. Sorry, that kind of killed the vibe.
It didn't kill the vibe. It only added to it. It fucking added to it, Orlando. You can't place a foot wrong in this situation, because that's why also, just so you know how this looks visually, is that the way I go about when I broadcast interviews, that if sometimes you come across bands where all four join, there's a spokesperson, the other three are like, fuck, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not here. And so I have it fixed on only the talker. So then no one else sees what's going on. I mean, usually, you know, you might have all the screens going at the same time, but I've got just me and just whoever the first person that's responding to the questions or talking at the time, because then I can see that you're down there sketching. And what I'm thinking is, have I lost him? Have I lost him? But now you've shared that you're inspired by everything going on. No, that's great. You've got to be comfortable. That's the most important thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Are you? Have you watched the Beatles documentary, by the way?
Not yet. The Peter Jackson one? Not yet. I need to make sure I've got 58 days free in my schedule for that.
Oh my God. Like, look, I love the Beatles. I love the Beatles. But even I occasionally was just like, all right, we've heard two of us 5 times now.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, let's move on, you know. But I mean, still an amazing documentary. But I think that there was another one on Disney Plus. It was McCartney 1, 2, 3 with Rick Rubin and Paul McCartney. And they were just like soloing some of the tracks. So they were like bringing the faders up and down on like certain instruments. That was amazing. That was genuinely like, wow. And Paul just kind of been like, yeah, I know, you know, it was a very interesting time.
That's a fucking good impression. Sorry, it's been so long since I've been anywhere near a Scouser that I thought I was back in England.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. I annoy Orlando and Tom with my impressions very often.
Why did you bring that up, Orlando? What stuck out to you?
It's just because we were talking about, because you said that there is always like someone who's talking and the other one, the other ones are just chilling in a corner. I'm just thinking about Ringo Starr is always like lying on a corner like that, just sleeping or. And then
he was already thinking about Brexit even back then.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that when Paul McCartney is writing Let It Be, no one is getting it. No one is saying anything. It's like, and Ringo says like, sure, it's like, what? Really? It's like, this is one of the best thing ever, and he doesn't get it. And so that's why I brought it up.
But that's kind of the magic on that as well, is that they're just so nonchalant about it. It's just, we're just writing, we're just shooting the shit, see what comes out, and no one really knows the impact it's going to make until afterwards. I mean, I would say that now in 2022 that the world has become so technologically advanced. I mean, and that ties in with the name choice as well. We're constantly, oh, for goodness sake, thank you very much, first time chatter, welcome. How do I say that right? Kaijetsu, is that it? Kaijetsu, thanks for being here. The Rad Cyclist saying, enjoying this chat. Boopa Doopy saying, loving this. The song earlier reminded me of some real Queens of Stone Age vibes to it. Pretty right, lovely. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
They'll like that. But what was I saying? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, in this day and age now, it's like, the rise of TikTok, for example. In the last 2 or 3 months, there's been about 20 bands that have been exposed as being already signed and rolling out a story that would depict that they are just an independent artist, and then boom, all of a sudden they get this huge deal that they actually signed in 2020. Yeah. And so there's a system that bands like you are in and amongst right now, and that you're also trying to learn and harness and tackle to grow in the right way, efficiently, and not going insane at how the systems seem to, look after certain situations. It's easy for NME and co to write an article saying Adele has taken all the vinyls from the rest of the world. But everything, it's a different world to the Beatles back then, When I think to back then, I'd be like, if I was living in around that time, I don't know if I'd get on a fucking plane. I don't know if I trust it, but we're still using the same planes now, but the music field and the world has changed so much around those planes that, that's quite interesting actually, is how do you guys work with your team or your label? How did you look at this when the pandemic hit? Did you go, right, okay, well, we're going to do a song every 4 weeks? What was the plan that you made that in turn captured my attention?
Sure. Well, so we have a great team, and basically we just we realized quite early on we didn't think that gigs were going to be happening. I did quite a few of those live stream Instagram gigs, and it's like going on some of like the bigger stages that we've done before. I don't tend to get too nervous. I get excited, but for some reason, a phone set up in my living room, and you just see people like popping up and starting to like listen. Absolutely terrifying. Like completely terrifying, because there's no response and you're kind of literally in your living room, like giving it your all, being like, yeah, this is great. And then you finish the song and it's just like, there's just silence. But as a band and with our label and our management, we kind of decided that we wanted to just keep on hitting as close to a 6-week situation as we could, because prior to that, we were considering an album earlier on, but obviously with an album, you need to be able to do tours and kind of promote it in a very real kind of face-to-face kind of way, especially when you're like a band of our level. It's like, we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of people to reach. So we just decided, let's just hit them with some singles. We wrote a few of the singles during lockdown and released them. So like actually the one most recently, Sweet Tooth, that was written and recorded in like November, I think. Yeah. And we just kind of got it out. And we do have the next one ready, basically, which we're kind of really looking forward to. Like it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, I think that's the funny thing, isn't it? Sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, no, sorry, Sneed. Let's just play a little sample of Sweet Tooth.
Yeah.
This is really fucking good, by the way.
You look like someone out of Hollywood. Do what you want and you make it look good. You got a quarter kind of confidence. None of the critics who run the fence. You're like a fire, you're lighting up the truth. Good for my sweet tooth. Good for my sweet tooth. So come on over if you wanna move. Intimidate me into every room. I love your style and your loving taste. So give me till the love it breaks. Your life and your destruction through and through. Good for my sweet tooth.
It just makes me want to move. You know, it's got that proper old school swagger. That not swag like some shitty merch and bad t-shirts. I mean, like proper swagger.
Yeah,
hip shaking. Let's go. So at ease and at one with oneself. Twitcher. This is one of the most ridiculous names in the chat. Twitching her box says, "Excellent song." Makes me want to dance. Also, yeah, it's so good. That's going to be a song of the week for sure. Probably 2 weeks from now. So I'll get a quote from you. To deal with that later in the future, but sure. You put this together yourselves then? What was the setup and studio like for this then?
So basically I kind of began with like a demo kind of situation. So generally what tends to happen is if people submit songs, send like an acoustic recording first and kind of be like, what do you think? And that usually comes in a batch of 3 or 4 or something like that. And there was some editing before we even went into the studio. So, and I've just, the world needs to know what I wanted the second line to be originally, which is, you look like someone out of Hollywood. So at the moment it's do what you want and you make it look good. But what it used to be was you look like someone out of Hollywood. I even heard you gave Pinocchio wood.
But why couldn't you use that?
I think it was a bit too, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of, it was too piss takey. And I think it's kind of like with songs like that, sometimes you need to be like free for sure, but also like, it's very easy for a song like that, which is kind of retro and kind of plays into like all of the old kind of music that we love. It's very easy to make it sound like a parody.
Right.
So I think that we were doing our best not to make it sound like a parody. But we basically we ended up going to the studio, this amazing studio in Dollis Hill in London called Fish Factory, which literally is behind a fishmonger's, and it's this very strange room, big live room, lots of old instruments like Roland Junos from like the 80s, and xylophones and like taiko drums and amps that make no sense when you look at them. Like there's so many things in there that you would believe it if they said there's only one of these in the world, kind of thing. And we went in there with Sam Miller, who's a producer that we work with loads, and he's worked with all sorts of people, including like Feeder and like some of the greats. I know he's like been an engineer on so many sessions for like, I think even like Black Sabbath and people like that. Do you remember the Hoosiers' first album?
Right.
Worried About Ray and Goodbye.
Yeah.
So he produced that. And basically I've known him for years, and we started working with him as Electric Enemy, and he's just like, he's such a great person to work with because he does not care. He's not one of those producers who'll say kind of just like, that was really good, could we try it again? He literally just looks at anyone who's trying something and he just goes, no, no, we're not doing that. So we basically recorded this one and the next single over the course of 2 days, essentially. And yeah, just kind of knocked it out, and then added all of the extra bells and whistles. And then, yeah, hey presto, Sweet Tooth.
And Orlando, what's the process like for you in the studio?
What do you mean? Like, well, it's just like we just jam around the song and we try to put it together, really. I think for this one, the hard bit was the actual riff, because we play it together with bass and everything, so it goes like, it has to be very precise. So
yeah, you need to start on the bend, which is really
we start
weird.
on the bend, so it's a weird one, and so that was a bit of a challenging one. But I guess in the studio it's more about like setting the right vibe with everyone. It's like, I always thought it was about being good at playing, and stuff like that, which is part of the thing, but it's also like dealing with everyone and making sure that everyone is feeling great, and
yeah,
that's like, because you capture that as well in the room. So
yeah, it's true. And you need to be switched on, not just for what you're doing, but for what everyone else is doing. Because it's kind of like, I think that it's so easy to happen, because it's kind of like, obviously when you're on and you're doing your thing, but when it's like the drummer putting in some overdubs or something like that, it's so easy to just be like, yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna just get on my phone, or I'm gonna go for lunch or whatever. But you need to be like switched on, because that person needs to know someone's listening and gonna criticize them, because we have a complete full honesty policy in the band, where it's just like, if someone's not playing well enough, or if they're doing something that the rest of us don't like, it's not like, that was really good, it's just kind of like, don't do that, no, do it like this. And in the studio, I think Orlando he never admits to it, but he is a bit of a guitar wizard in ways that I just will never understand. And he just looks at amps and kind of, he knows what everything is, and he's just like, that's great like that. Oh, Jim, maybe you should try using this one for this tone, and that kind of stuff. So I'm very grateful for that, because, I just, I don't know the technical side of things, like what everything should be called, or like all that.
You just go with your gut. I mean, Orlando, I'm really looking forward to the zine when you do all the caricatures of everyone in the studio. Do you take your art book with you and sit in the corner and just draw away as well to get chilled?
No, I don't do that. I would like to do it, but as Jim said, it's all about like listening and trying to be there. I'm not saying that just like doing art is going to take you somewhere else. You can still manage to do both, but I guess in the studio is, I rather like just play around ideas, because most of the time, whatever you record is improvised, like solos and stuff. So you just play random things, and and Sam, our producer, just say, "Oh, I like that," or "I hate that." In most cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. So and so that's probably why. But I might do that.
We're quite kind of serious in terms of getting to the studio and kind of knowing more or less everything that's going to happen. So like we don't like to leave too much to chance, just because that's a rich band's game.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's why I mean,
when it comes to the stuff like the solos, that's it's like Orlando just tries stuff, and it depends if people get on their feet or if they're going to go like, it's really interesting. It's challenging, but it's great. It's probably one of my favorite parts, I think, of being in a band, is like the studio side of things.
Because it's like we start with a very complicated ideas, and then it ends up being stupid. And that's probably like what we need, for that specific song. So that's probably what it is. Like for Sweet Tooth, it's just like one note going up like all the way through. So that's it. At the beginning, it was like, and we didn't like it.
Yeah, because the studio can be a very intimidating space to go in. I have been lucky to be in the studio with variable different projects growing up, but it was until Stinging Bell was the one where I was like, this has got to be tight, because we recorded live off the floor, and it was just Jordan and I, and because Jordan would split his rig into three, so it would be like there'd be a lead guitar, there'd be a second amp that would turn on for solos, there'd be a bass amp on the whole time. The signal sending to the bass wouldn't be the exact staccato of the initial hit, it would be the afterthought. So like whoop 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 whoop.
Oh, nice.
It would add that texture, so you'd be like, oh, we once played the one of the coolest shows we ever played was a music festival with some of my favorite bands on it, as it turned out, and like Eagles of Death Metal and Cat Empire and stuff like that. And
which festival was that?
It was called Rock the Shores here on Vancouver Island. It did 2 or 3 years then pandemic, but when we were going into the studio, like I've been practicing for weeks on my electric drum kit, just playing to click, but also trying to make sure playing to the stems that we kept that suave energy, that free flow in it, because you don't want to completely succumb to the fucking click. You need to have it in your mind, but not let it depict who you are. And there's that fine line. And so I ask all these questions that are very simple to try and just galvanize an answer as to how you go about it, because you haven't got 15 days to be in the studio. You've not got 10 grand you can just go in. And so with us, there were moments where we had the 3 songs we were going to do in 3 days. And, 2 of them were like 5 minutes. When you're trying to get that live off the floor and shit tight, there was one moment where I'd gone through the same song maybe for 3 or 4 hours, and I was just building and building frustration. And it was this beautiful, the Woodshop Studios up in the Cowichan Valley here on the island. The room was filled with very expensive, like most studios, very expensive microphones and this, that, and the other. And after a few hours, I got up and I just launched these drumsticks down the room, which is like 40 feet, and they bounced off and came back to me. And Malcolm, one of my best friends, jumped up out of the studio. I could see him in the glass coming round. I thought, fuck, I've actually angered him. This is the first time I'm going to see him angry in 10 years. And he came in and was just very polite, like, okay, John, you know that you're in a room with like $50,000 worth of microphones in here. I'm going to need you just to maybe take a breather, go have a smoke, do whatever you need, have a sandwich. And I think the best thing we can do is not fucking do this song. And I said, you're fucking right, we're not doing this song because I'm not good enough to do it. But we came back in and we tried to rewrite it. It was a very over the top song that then when you're recording it, it exposes, do you need this fill? Do you need that lick? Do you need that glissando there? Because it's just knocking on into the next bar and it's taking the impetus out of it. And then it became too finite. So that's why we just ditched that one and did the others. That's why I'm so fascinated by how bands go about it, because it's very clear in listening to Electric Enemy that this is a very slick machine. But that's what fascinates me tenfold is, but where did these start and where did the journey lead to the result? Like Orlando's just answered, there was a lot more, but now it's just like, tear away the 18, leave the 3, down, right? Fascinates me.
Yeah.
That's awesome, yeah. I've written down Stinging Bell, by the way. Like, is there stuff to like listen to online?
Oh, God, yeah, 3 live off the floor, really early days from years ago on Spotify. I can send you stuff. It's It's, you know,
Please.
take it with a
Yeah,
pinch
no,
of
I'd
salt.
love to. Really love to listen to it.
Feel free to pinch any good ideas. But no, no. Just cognizant. So you were saying, Jim, that you're doing songwriting with people in Nashville. Is that at a certain time, or are you flexible?
I've got the session with them at 7:30. So yeah, so
perfect. We're good.
Still good. 7:30 UK.
Okay, good to know. So that's about 11:30 here. All right, in the morning. Yeah, I just want to dive into a couple more.
Yeah,
I think let's listen to a bit of Therapy here.
Well, hey there, little Jimmy. Welcome to therapy.
Trying to keep it in chains, but I can't change the way, can't hold my breathing. Telling you I'm okay, but I see things, I really pray I'm dreaming. Wanna say that I'm fine, but I can feel my jaw, my teeth are screaming. I'm beginning to see.
It is interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Go on. That's one of the shortest songs you've written.
Yeah.
2 minutes, 9 seconds.
Yeah. One day we'll have like a 10-second song. That'll be the hit. It's just gonna be like dun, 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 dun. Ah! Then that'll be it.
Just take all your favorite riffs and put them in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you can slow it down and make an album.
And then play it backwards, and it'll be like that Led Zeppelin thing.
It's all about like editing and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess like this song is you have to listen to it live. So if you come to one of our shows, I think it's one of the best songs that we perform live.
It's the finisher, the set finisher.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, by the way, like if you've come to the UK to like see family or something at any point, obviously you're more than welcome to any one of our gigs.
Well, I'll definitely take you up on that offer in 15 years' time if we're all still going.
Nice.
Can't wait to see you in 2032. Oh man, what a joyous summer that will be.
My hips haven't been the same, but you know.
Yeah, I was wondering that's why I wanted to make sure I touched on that one, because for me that's either going to be like song number 1 or right before the encore or Thank You Good Night, because it just it leaves you wanting more, and it very much it just completely depicts the energy of Electric Enemy. Stand and deliver.
Yeah.
We're going to tear your fucking hearts out, and we're going to let loose here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, I mean, like that one, it's so much fun to play live, and I think that people do seem to really get behind the rage within the song whenever we play it live, which is great. And it's just kind of, it's awesome to see that reaction, because I think sometimes you do just want a song which is just like the theme tune to, you know, a mental breakdown or just being extremely pissed off, you know, like you can do whatever you want to that song, really. You know, you can exercise or all sorts of things.
Well, I mean, look, it's been an interesting month for me personally, and there has been a lot of questioning. Okay, I'm nearly 2 years into this. Have I grown how I would like to? Have I pushed myself to build what I envisioned and what I had in mind 2 years ago? And in turn, then the biggest battle I've had is going from having a very fortuitously having a very successful radio show here for years, and this is a very different medium now with what I'm doing. You can't just get in the car and turn it on unless you've got a modern car with smart, you know, that likes to get into the App Store and Google Play. You can't access me like that. And so that's been one of the biggest tests for me, is stepping away from the mainstream and then seeing who gives a shit anymore, because everyone's going to do what they want to do. I don't expect anything from anyone. That's sort of become my motto the last 5-6 years. But you think, oh, okay, well, I know I've laid the foundation in and around here that people might be, oh shit, I really want to discover modern rock and blah, 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 blah. And so the last 6 to 12 weeks, I've been considering, okay, I'm going to need to go back. You know, I've done my first year and a half living off of my, basically I withdrew all of my pension plan. I've been building up, working at a company for 10 years, and I took out that 12 grand and went, this is what I'll live off of for as long as I can, building this. And so that's gone now. That was gone a few months ago. And I've been clinging on to, you know, the wonderful people that support me and the $300-400 I make a month through the station. But now in the last month, I'm like, I need to look, I'm 35 years old. In a matter of weeks, I need to get a job. I need to get a part-time job just to level out, because it's not fair. You know, Jody is working at some points 7 days a week to support me, and that doesn't feel comfortable, you know. So it's been a really difficult month in going, well, have I failed then? No, I've not fucking failed. No. You know, this is so early on, and I've got a 5, 7, 10-year plan. And so that song is definitely one, long story short, that I go for a drive or I go for a walk. And if I'm in the car, that's when I just release everything. Like, no, you fucking, come on, get your head back on, get a new game plan. No one even fucking knows about this shit yet. And it's been a big release of, okay, here's the 10 years prior. That's gone now. And that's to be cherished and respected. But not everyone is going to be in your corner every day. And so that's why I was drawn to the lyrical content of your songs. It seemed that there was some depth to it, and it certainly seemed believable. And then when you couple that with the wall of guitars and it's just, I'm in.
Yeah.
So,
oh, thank you so much, man. And first of all, age is a social construct.
Well,
I feel younger than I've ever felt before. So nice. But you know, it's just, I mean, that's just brilliant to hear that this can be like literally like a kind of therapy. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're kind of like trying to release all of that stuff. That's what we're all doing here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially, like that just means everything. And the more that we've kind of been able to reach people and stuff, it really it does mean so much. Like I think that, I don't know, maybe someone who says something like you've just said about, you know, being able to like listen to the song and say that it does that thing, that really means everything to us. Like I can't begin to explain it properly. That's the aim, isn't it? You know what I mean? So yeah, thank you.
But that's the beauty of music, you know. And the biggest word I've used for years is authenticity. That's what I'm drawn to. That's what everyone's drawn to in their own realm. And when you can feel it, and then when you get a real sense for it through now learning that, okay, Orlando's the guy behind the art, you know, then when you start adding all these things together, you're like, no, this is it. This is what this connects and resonates with me. This is what I'm into. And especially now in this modern day and age, until we learn otherwise, as someone that we go, oh, fuck, really? Then you hope that moment doesn't come. It's not like back in the 50s and 60s when it takes 3 years for the rumor to spread across the water, and then they're like, oh, we can't like that band anymore. Now it's like, it's done. So, but that's what great music does. I mean, if you two think back, if you can, to what was that song, what was that artist that really inspired you way back when to walk down this path?
Well, for me, obviously, so like Beatles at the very beginning, but weirdly, I think as a very shy kind of 13-year-old or whatever, it was actually thanks to VH1 constantly playing Oasis that made me kind of go like, these guys, like, they do not care what anyone thinks about them. And then I was listening to the songs, I was just like, these are really good. Like, you know, I mean, obviously they've had a lot of albums. Not everything is perfect. No one can expect that. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was Oasis that made me decide that I wanted to be in like a rock band and just kind of do that stuff and just not care what people thought about me, kind of thing. So yeah, that's for me anyway. But
did you choose to go leather jacket because of Noel and avoid the bomber jacket because of Liam? Was that a conscious choice or just how?
Oh God, no! Like you should have seen me back then. Good Lord, I put my hair down, didn't pluck my monobrow. and I had a parka, and I was possibly insufferable to be around for a while. But hey, we all grow up, and I like to think about that time in my life just before I close my eyes to go to sleep.
Oh,
So that kind of sparks that nervous anxiety, just like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep now. But what about that weird thing I did 10 years ago?
have you got all of these written on the fucking wall in front of you that you're just running through all these great ending sentences to your answers?
I think there is a name for that. I think it's Facebook. Because we've all done that, back in the day. It's just like writing something on Facebook, and like now, 12 years ago, you said this. It's like,
yeah, no, exactly. Do you ever look back and like you see a comment or like a status? Because obviously, when you first get something like Facebook, this is completely off topic now, but like when I first got Facebook, what did it always used to say? Just like Jim, whatever is feeling something, and that was how the status worked. And I took that literally. So it wasn't just like the beginning of a sentence. I was like, I've got to stick to this format. So it's just like, is feeling like he doesn't want to tell you what he's feeling. Or kind of like, and just, I don't know, just, isn't it embarrassing to look back? But isn't it also great to kind of, like, I love the fact that at the moment, I feel like, I've got a long way to go, but I don't completely hate myself at the moment. But when I look back at me 5 years ago, I'm just like, God, who was that fucking dick?
Yeah.
But I know that in 5 years' time, I'm going to look back and just be like, God, who was that fucking dick? You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
No, that's fine. I deleted Facebook 2.5 years ago. I first started Facebook when I moved to Canada and thought, if I can make 50 friends, it will show my boss that he should hire me on the radio station. Look, I'm bringing in all these fucking people.
Yeah.
50. We got 50. But then I'm actually Alex, who's watching right now, one of my best friends who's down in Gloucester. He said years ago, he messaged me and was like, you could post, I'm just eating an apple, and 1,000 people like it. Yeah. And that was what was so fickle about the algorithm back then, was that it was just nonsense. I mean, and for me growing up, it became so taxing. So I was so happy. That was one of the biggest parts of when I left broadcasting. I was like, I can't wait. Or when I left commercial broadcasting, I can't wait to shut this thing down. Because yes, you'll be told it's a crucial tool, but the fact is you've got to put so much money into your posts being seen now. Is it really a crucial tool? And it just feels so good. People thought I was actually mentally unstable for leaving. That's how fraught people's energy are in having to be on Facebook, is that people were messaging me saying, are you okay? Like, you're leaving your job, you're closing Facebook. Are you going to be in the ground next? And I'm like, what the fuck? No, I'm leaving both of these so that I don't be in the ground next. But Orlando, before we start walking down the path of the fickleness of social media, do you remember your earliest memory of music and what inspired you?
I remember I used to have a covers band back then. But we were like almost like old man, because I grew up in Italy, first of all. So I didn't have like major music shops or anything. So we had to go through like the uncle selection of, and I remember someone gave me a Deep Purple. Like, it was this album called Made in Japan, which is a live album. And it's all full of mistakes, but they all make sense. Like, there was always like a feedback, or there is this guy tuning his guitar. And that is it gives life to playing, because just back then everything was already perfect. Like, you watch a band playing and everything was very settled, when everything was uncertain with this album. So that's why I liked it. And I think I used to play it all the way through, like the whole album with my guitar, and I learned a lot from that. So I guess Deep Purple. I know it's an old man's choice, but yeah.
No. So in the town that you were growing up in Italy, then there's no music store that deals in modern culture music?
No, there is no. I mean, I was the only guy playing guitar in the whole town. So
really?
Yeah. Imagine that. Just like going for like, oh, I need to repair my guitar. Where do you go? It's like you have to drive for miles. So ask your dad to drive you for miles and go somewhere. When in London, just go to the shop and
But you're
um,
super resourceful though. It's just like Orlando literally built his own talk box. And he's
oh
one
yeah,
of these people who can like, you'll give him, if you gave me a seed, you know, in like restaurants sometimes it's like, oh, have this seed and plant it and make life. And I do that, and it's just kind of like, it's like I've killed someone and I'm burying it. But Orlando just like he just kind of, I don't know what he says, maybe he says something in Italian, just like ciao bella. And then the seeds come to life. And just he's one of those, what's it called again? You're green fingered. You're a green fingered man.
like, so green.
So
Yeah.
green.
But that is interesting
yeah.
because Orlando, that means that you have to equip yourself with all the skills. So from what you're putting down, I'm presuming then that you're learning everything by ear initially in those early years. You're learning how to build and change and do everything guitar-wise yourself. So how do you then even try and find people to start jamming around and doing these covers with?
We were just like a bunch of friends who were really bored, like just living in a small village. You can imagine. So someone said, "Oh, I'll play drums, I'll play keys," and we had a little band, and we used to play a lot, like around, but it was mainly like hard rock, which is what I do now. So nothing has changed, like since then. I played like different things. Like I played in Motown bands. I played in with different people, saxophone players, stuff like that. But then I always came back to this. So that's what it is. It's it's the old man's rock and roll, isn't it?
And I'm presuming that's what led you to get out of town, is be like, no disrespect, but I want to keep going and seeing what this can do.
Yeah. No, I was I had a dream about being in a band in London. I didn't even know how to speak the language when I moved here, so I was like, if I'm not gonna do it now, when? So that's what.
So how long have you been in London then?
It's been like 8 years, so it's been too long now.
Oh my god!
I think I'm gonna move somewhere else at some point. I think Jim and I we kind of have like the same ideas at the same time. I think we were all, like, talking about going to Brighton at some point. I don't know. It's just like it would be good to change a bit because it's a bit chaotic, the whole city, and But
it can't be. Like lockdown without having a garden, for example, was kind of a bit intense.
I had a great time the first 2 months. I remember doing all sorts of things in my house, like DIY, painting.
Okay, good.
I did. Oh, it was great. And then after those 2 months, everything fell apart.
Yeah, I think Brighton would be a great fit. Brighton's a town that I've always compared to Victoria here. It's a very artistic town, and that's not just in terms of music, in terms of poets and artists and everything in between. It's a very expressive town. And that's where that's where after we lost everything in Wiltshire, we moved to Horsham near Brighton. And then my family were there for probably 16 years. So I went down to Brighton a lot. When I first started doing stand-up when I was 15 years old, my first gig was in a pub in Brighton, and it's there's a lot of great bands there. I mean, you'd be walking into a place that's got Yonica, Royal Blood, Architects. I mean, all these really established groups and exciting emerging bands. It'd be great to team up with them.
Tiger Cub
are incredible. The
we
7-foot colossal.
We love Tiger Cub.
And Black Honey as well.
Black Honey. I actually,
There's a lot like in Brighton going on, and the culture. And
Bright On,
you cheesy. Again, that's another one off the fucking wall he's reading ad ready before we chatted. That actually would be a really good show. Like Yonica, Black Honey, and you. That would be a really, really good show.
Yeah, man, that would be great. That would be
Tiger Cub. No, you could just tag between.
Hook us up.
No, well, I wish I could. That's what would be so cool. That's one of my dreams, is that in 10 years from now, I would love, like, actually, if you, oh my God, do you know what I'm realizing is I don't think so. I released a best of 2021, right? All your big usuals, to NME, to Exclaim, to Rolling Stone, etc. Pitchfork's always a really interesting ride going through their lists. But so what I like, when I sat down to put my best of 2021 together, I just sat and I didn't look at anything, any figures of the radio station or my playlist or anything. I just went, okay, what's going to come to mind? And then from there, 109 bands. And then I wrote this colossal blog that's on the website, what was that, radio.com. It's just dawned on me that I'm looking now at my list to my left here. I don't think I put yours on there yet. With where do we go from here? So excuse me, let me just check the poster, because if you go to the website, I've made the poster. Let me just double check myself here now.
If I move away from Zoom, I worry that my Wi-Fi will implode.
Okay, well don't worry about that.
So I'm going to stay right here.
I need to I need to adjust that, because you're on the poster but you're not on the blog yet. It's all written up, I just haven't put it down. It's because I'm juggling all these flipping plates. But when I look at that list, I'm like, it would be so cool to get to my point, to do a festival like that. What I would like to get to a point of is maybe in 10 years, the station has grown enough that I can say to you, right, I would love to bring you over to Canada and bring 20 bands over and do a day festival, or bring 10 bands over. We will take it step by step. Maybe it just starts as 3 and we do a night.
We'll be there.
But it would be,
Definitely.
and and it costs a lot. So it'll take time to get there. But yeah, that's what I dream of as well, is then bringing bands to this community and being like, look, you know, it's not changing the wheel of what people do. Like when you got that call for Isle of Wight, and then all those people are like, who the fuck are these guys? It's like, well, that's the joy of shows, and when they are produced and organized and spoken about properly, not just quickly thrown together. Anyway, it's that would be really cool one day to do that. But I think for sure, yeah, going to Brighton would be a great move, and certainly like rent a house and maybe team up with some other bands. I mean, I spoke with Blood Red Shoes last week.
Oh, great band.
They're so good as well. Yeah, I mean, that would be such a great energy to go into. Yeah.
Speaking of Blood Red Shoes, actually, there's that one song. I think it's called Black Distractions. The summon the devil inside of you, and the guitar solo in that. I have referenced that for I think every song. I've just been like, it'd be great if we have the guitar solo in that, just because it's not even a solo. It just goes do now, and it's just like, oh yes.
What song is that in?
That's in Black Distractions.
No, but of yours.
Oh, sorry. Oh God. Now that I've said it, I don't know.
I think it was early stuff, no, it's not.
Probably in like, maybe in like Voices or something. Basically, there would be that kind of like screechy sound coming in every night. Tell you what, Heartache Melody, actually, there's kind of like some like solo-y bits going on over some of the choruses. I think the second chorus, you kind of get that guttural feel. I need to find another word other than guttural. I think I've said it 3 times.
No,
sounds
that's fine.
like a medieval knight. I am guttural.
That was my concern when I was writing the blog, is that I didn't say the same adjectives and nouns over and over again. But then at the same time, it's like, it's just a word that fits it. And
yeah,
it's
of course, yeah. And like, otherwise you're just kind of like out with the thesaurus.
Yeah, I haven't got
time.
There you
go.
Haven't got the time to be going through thesaurus.com to fucking write a blog that took 50 hours. But let's just jump into a bit of Heartache Melody.
Apple tree, nightmares are born from the dream.
Let's get to a chorus.
Souvenirs keep haunting me. Perfume, empty sea.
I mean, nothing but thieves need to hurry up and make a phone call for a support slot too. That would be epic. Let's check Voices quick. Check a chorus at the end here.
Pinocchio made it in the end, as you can hear.
Yeah.
classic. I go to the fucking bridge. Hang on. There they are.
Pictures in my
Reminds me of getting a wisdom tooth out. You hear all the cracking of the.
Yeah.
See ya. It's free.
It's like Dark Ages dentist. Just
Yeah.
like, okay, everyone. grab the
Everything's
rod.
gonna be fine.
Where's my horse?
Well, cognizant of the time, and I could certainly keep going for eternity. A quick art check on Orlando. Let's just check the work you've been doing there, the sketching.
Oh,
Have you got
thought it
anything
was.
else?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit rude, but
It's not rude at all. No, you've got to do what makes you comfortable.
I got like a lot of fish as well. Because why not?
Awesome.
Funny enough, no one in the band has tattoos, so we don't have tattoos. Like, so we like all these like sort of art, but we don't have any tattoos. It would be great to have something like that on my arm or something, but
Yeah.
I never did.
Do it.
You can do the band tattoo design, and then everyone gets it on their right cheek.
You got some lovely stuff on your arm, so
Yeah, no, that looks really cool.
Yeah, it's been many years in the making. It's on my right arm. It's a bunch of artwork that alludes to my favorite bands. That on first reflection, most people maybe not realize. They might not realize rather what it is. But yeah, that I don't know. This is the camera for you. That's the camera for the stream. But this guy, Lightning Bolt, is Queens of Stone Age inspired. That's one of my favorites of all time. There's the Muse dude from Absolution. All those sort of weird space creatures looking down, coming into the desert. There's the Cat Empire. I don't know if you can see that. This upside down cat. They're an amazing band from Australia. Not a rock band, a very roots and multi-genre band. Foo Fighters' Atomic Bomb from Echo Silence, Patience and Grace falling in there. That's also a sort of subtle Beastie Boys reference, but not overly. Mastodon, one of my favorite bands. This sort of weird gorilla meets whatever the fuck it is. And then, that's all my grandparents' arm. And the very first two tattoos I got were the two rings here and here, which were the coordinates of the, moving it too quickly, but you can see there's just those either side.
Oh, yeah.
I waited until I was like 20, 22. I'd wanted tattoos since I was a kid. And thankfully, even though my mum, I've never been pushed so hard in my life. When I got home and I was like, Mum, we've been going through these designs that you didn't like, and I've finally chosen something. And I did this, and she was in my dad's office, and she went, Jonathan, and just like Iron Man just propelled me in the air 2 feet back against the cupboard. And then when I told her what they were, she started crying and went, well, if you were going to get it, that's it. And it's the end of the poem that my grandfather wrote about my grandmother when she passed away.
Oh, wow.
So from that funeral, when it was read to us, so it was Host of Kings, and King was her surname before she married him and became Alan. But Host of Kings has shed its outer coating in the heart, wishes fulfilled, friends kissed, she must depart. And I thought that's the first one. That's the stupid one. The mustache is the stupid one. But then on the other side is the coordinates of the hospital I was born in Malmesbury, and the house I grew up in that we lost when I was a middle teenager. That was a massive life lesson. And in between that is Corvus Mondula, which is Latin for jackdaw, which if you're born in Malmesbury and Wiltshire, known as a jackdaw. If you're born in Swindon, you're a moonraker, which at the time I remember thinking was a lot cooler than this bird. But that's the context on that. But look, Jim, you've got to go and write in with Nashville peeps in 10 minutes. So the last few minutes I wanted to grasp from you is, what is the plan? The new, you've got a hell of a lot going on next week. The record's out. So what is the plan next week? What is the plan the next 3 months, 6 months, and year? And obviously that's difficult because you never really know what and where this planet is going to go with government's ideals of lockdowns or no lockdowns or whatever. But what's the dream scenario for Electric Enemy the next 6-12 months?
So, as my friend says, as long as shit doesn't come to fuck, we will essentially release another single in about 6 to 8 weeks' time, which I can tell you is called Therapy 2. After that, we will have an EP, like an actual intentional EP. And And then after that, probably another single. And then we're hoping towards the end of the year, album release. But what we would love is, to just get one of those big support tour kind of things, you know, just to be able to just get out there and just kind of show what we love to do to like a whole bunch of people. That would be the ideal situation, essentially. I don't know, have I missed anything, Orlando? Would you say?
No, I just think that, you know, every time we make plans, you know, it's always changing. Everything is always changing. I think it really depends on opportunities and stuff like that. So I guess we'll see. I think, well, it's pretty certain that we're going to release our next single in 6 weeks' time. So that's
going to happen.
That's going to happen. That's probably the only thing that we can tell. But
that's an EE promise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking for any exclusives. I don't need to know if you're wearing Dolce & Gabbana socks or anything like that. But because that's even different to the emails that we were that we were sending the last week, Jim. You know, I thought, oh right, okay, so that's why I just wanted to check in.
Yeah. So I mean, like next week, it's just going to be sharing all sorts of stuff like behind the album, behind the single, that recently came out. The music video is great. It was done by these two guys, Ed and Ned. And basically the idea when we first heard Sweet Tooth, I think it was Orlando or maybe Tom, who kind of said, do you know what this kind of sounds like? It just kind of sounds like a fox or a dog just like making their way around town, just like kind of, but from their perspective. So we got a beagle called Pickle to wear a GoPro. So that happens in the music video. And it's just like some psychedelic fun, isn't it? It's like we figure that most of our songs are they are quite serious, I guess. You know, they're like mental health stuff, very deep in that stuff. So we just wanted to kind of give a little bit of levity so that we don't actually kill anyone in January. So that's what we're doing.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, he said it also. Yeah.
There we go. All the boxes are ticked. No, well, that's what we'll. That's what we'll do when we let you go in a minute. Here is we'll watch the new single video that I was starting, but then Jim was so on point that he was 5 minutes early, so I didn't get to watch the whole thing yet with everyone here. But we'll watch that once you two go. But I'm just so thankful. I got to let you go because you've got to get to this session. But I'm really, really thankful for your time. I love the art that you make. You know that at this point, and please just keep me in your mind with anything I can help with over here. The little I can do, I'm always here because it's been a real thrill to get to know you both. And Orlando, just to really, really solidify this point, nothing you did here today was rude. Okay, you're allowed to draw. You live your life on your own fucking terms.
Later.
and I think that's testament to the energy that was created by the three of us, is that you felt comfortable to go about that. And that's what that energy is all about, is allowing artists to depict how they are, how they perform, how they go about their business by themselves. It is down to you as the individuals and as a collective to represent how you want to. And I think that from my time in broadcasting, there is an expectation of how artists carry themselves, how they answer questions, like Jim, when you were emailing saying, well, what are you going to ask me? And that's been one of the biggest things that has freaked out many bands now that I'm solo and independent and not with the company, is they're like, well, what the fuck are you going to ask me? Because they're so used to 1, 2, 3 done in 10. So for you guys to give an hour and a half of your time and to feel comfortable to draw and sketch and share the art, I think is very special, and I appreciate it. So thank you both very much.
Honestly, completely ditto. Thanks so much for having us. Like, this is awesome. I think don't tell anyone, but this is definitely like the most fun I've had in an interview. And like, we have been talking for 1.5 hours, but it just didn't feel like it. Yeah. So like, if you want us back on at any point, like next single or EP or whatever, like we would love to do that. Just basically catch up. It'd be great to catch up.
Exactly. That's exactly. And what I would love to do, and I say this to every band that I've spoken with, is I usually give them 2 or 3 bands, which I must do with you before you go. Or I can email them to you actually, just in case. But I usually give 2 or 3 bands I think that those bands should reach out to, get to know. I mean, we've touched on Tiger Cub, we've touched on all those great bands, Black Honey and Co. in Brighton, but there are some amazing bands in Canada. There's a group called Cleopatrick that are a 2-piece.
Oh, I love Cleopatrick.
Right, they're about to go on tour with Royal Blood. That is a massive breakthrough for them. There is a band called Broken Love, all capitals, BRKNLOVE. I fucking didn't need to spell the love, but there you go. Latest single is Dead Weight. This is a band out of Ontario that I think would just befit being on stage with you perfectly. All about the wall of sound, the passionate sharing and lyrical content and delivery. That is a must-look-up band for you. Also, Black Pistol Fire, a really cool Canadian band, two-piece. Yeah. Dead Sarah out of LA. Dead Sarah, their debut album is incredible. They were signed to a major label deal 10 years ago, got chewed up and spat out and treated like shit. We're in court for 5 years trying to get that artwork. Their art back. They've just released it. That is one of the best rock records you'll hear.
Awesome.
Low Lives, a couple of fellow Brits in there, based out of LA. All one word, all caps. Look them up. And then finally, let's see here. Who else did I write down for you? Do you know the Lucas State? Those English lads from Chelmsford?
Yeah, we do. We follow each other.
Yeah, that is. They are a really cool band as well.
They are awesome. Yeah.
So I'll leave it there for now. Anything else, I'll email you. But what I would love to do. Oh, Bexley, Bexley, like London Borough Bexley. They're based out of LA. They're a three-piece. Amanda, Steve. I mean, they are just unreal. So my point being, I would love to later on this year have a group conversation, bring in 3 or 4 bands and be like, yo, we've all connected. Now, hopefully by proxy, you'll all connect and just generate those conversations and friendships. Because when you can get on that road, on that plane and over here, that's going to be fucking key, is teaming up with the right people to make the dream and the journey a success. Because you don't want to come all the way to Canada, drive 20,000 kilometers across it and play to 5 people. You want to do it smart. In 2022. So that's my thought behind that.
Completely agree. Competition is bullshit. We all got to support each other. And it's all about the art. So yeah.
All right. You've got 2 minutes to go. Pee, wash your face, change your pajamas and get in a Nashville songwriting session. Orlando, the night is yours to keep sketching and drawing. And thank you both so much.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who's listening as well.
All right. I'll let you go. Have a great rest of your day.
Cheers. Take care, man. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, he even joined in with the bye. I love that. Electric Enemy, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. Before the stream ends and I head over to Radioland and whatwasthatradio.com. Although I kind of feel like just watching some of their music videos now we've got some context. Let's see where we go. Here's Sweet Tooth. The video and the song came out today. Those two are awesome. Oh, and remember, they put a GoPro on a beagle as if to seem like, I'll sort my camera angle, as if to be like a fox running around the city of London. Now, at this point, the beagle's very fucking tall, isn't it? Okay.
You look like someone out of Hollywood. Do what you want, you make it look good. You got a quality, got a confidence. None of the critics who run the fence. You're like a fire, you're lighting up the truth. Good for my sweet tooth. Good for my sweet tooth. So come on over if you wanna move. Intimidate me into every room. I love the style, you're a lovely taste. So give me till the levee breaks. Your life and your destruction through and through. Good for my sweet tooth. Good for my sweet tooth. Good for my Wind and whispers in our way feel like a fire lighting up the truth. Good for my sweet tooth.
Man, this is one of the most exciting rock bands on the planet for me. And I know I say that a lot, but it's fucking justified. How good is Electric Enemy? How wonderful was it to speak with Orlando? I knew I shouldn't have eaten this energy. It's now my Special K protein double chocolate flavor is covering my voice box. Clive Walters, when I studied theatre studies years ago, who said if you're going to be a git, you be a git with pride. He also said don't fucking eat chocolate before you go on stage or perform or speak. We're at the end of this one. I kind of don't want to stop this. I kind of want to dive into a few more Electric Enemy videos, because that's what I'm obsessed with now after that wonderful conversation. Where do we go from here? Is that official audio or video? That's the audio, yeah. Let's go therapy.
Well, hey there, little Jimmy. Welcome to therapy.
Trying to keep it in chance, but I can't change the way, can't hold my breathing. Telling you I'm okay, but I see things, I really pray I'm dreaming. Wanna say that I'm fine, but I can feel my jaw, my teeth are screaming. I'm beginning to see. The rain.
I love those synths in there. Tell you what, this face, look at this face Orlando pulls here. Where oh, smoldering. Look at that smolder. Look at that. Let's just play this back in slow-mo a second. Hang on. Look at this. Good grief. Stallion coming in hot. Oh! Flipping heck, mate. You don't need to strike the match to start this fire. Look at that. Woo! All right, well, that was a conversation with Electric Enemy. And thanks so flipping much for being here. I really appreciate it. Whatever you're doing with the rest of your day, and as always, please look after yourself. And hope there's some fun and smiles involved in the rest of it too, because we've got to cherish that positive. Until next time. Cheerio.